This lecture is regarding counterclaims, position statement, and roadmap sentences for your research paper. So you should have received this handout. As I go through the lesson today, you can be adding notes and ideas for your own personal research paper and adding ideas that I mentioned as well that may not be on the note-taking sheet. So first I'd like to talk about the idea of extending your position through a counterclaim. So something that's really important in research writing is to show your reader that you have considered multiple sides of your issues, that you are not picking something just because it's your personal belief, but that you are selecting something after careful consideration of both sides. So a counterclaim will address the claims of the other side. It also shows your credibility as a writer, that you have researched multiple sides of the argument and that you have come to an informed decision. Now there's a couple of ways to start the counterclaim. You first of all have to recognize what the other side's main argument is. So you can't just say, even though some people do not want gun control, there should be gun control in America. You have to actually, in the counterclaim, address the other side's argument. It's important that you acknowledge that your issue is complex, that there's no easy answer, that there are multiple viewpoints. Counterarguments may be located at various locations within your body paragraphs as you begin writing your paper, but we want to identify the key main argument against your position in the first paragraph. But like I said, throughout your paper, it actually adds complexity and will show your reader that you are addressing those things if you want to address them within your body paragraphs briefly. Remain tactful yet firm. Again, don't be rude. Don't try to put down the other side. Simply state what their argument is and then present your side so that you have a careful position being stated. So here are some ways that you can do this. Again, you're going to pick a word like although, however, in spite of, and here are some ways you can do this. So my position statement, and of course you should already have your position statement written on your organizer, but my position statement here is the federal government should not raise the minimum wage. The counter argument, the people who say that the federal government should raise the minimum wage, one of the main arguments they make is that the current minimum wage is too low to live on. So I would pick my introduction word, my phrase word, and I would start it with this. Although the current minimum wage is too low to live on, the federal government should not raise the minimum wage. So again, here is my position statement. The federal government should not raise the minimum wage. And then here is the strongest argument for the other side. Here's another one. Animal experimentation should be considered abuse. This is what I'm trying to prove. This would be my position statement. Animal to abuse is the position statement. Here is my counterclaim. Even though scientists take precautions to minimize animal suffering, animal experimentation should be considered abuse. So again, I'm going to prove that it is abuse. The other side says it's not abuse because scientists actually take precautions to minimize their suffering. So it's not abuse. That's their main argument. And then here is my last example. Again, down here is my position statement. Manufacturers should not be required to publish their use of GMOs on food labels. That is what I'm trying to prove. The counterclaim, the other side that says that manufacturers should be required. In spite of the claims that genetically modified foods are a risk to human health and the environment, manufacturers should not be required to publish their use of GMOs on food labels. Just another note here, if you'll notice, this was the word genetically modified foods, but this is the common acronym for GMOs. The first time that you mention something like this in your paper, if this happens to apply to your topic, if your topic has something that's generally referred to in an acronym form, the first time you mention it, you always want to write the entire thing out. And then in parentheses, you can tell your reader what you're going to be using from there on out. And then every other time that you use it, like in the bottom line here, required to publish their use of GMOs, I know what that is referring to. So that's just a side note and something to think about if that is applicable to your position and your content. So what you're going to do is you're going to add a counterclaim to your position statement organizer that you received in class yesterday. So again, this was your graphic organizer. You should have your position statement handwritten here. So maybe I'm trying to claim that the minimum wage that the United States government should raise the minimum wage. That might be what I'm trying to prove. Okay, so that's going to be my position statement. I'm going to come back up to the top here and I'm going to select a word that I would like to start my counter argument with. I'm going to select although. Okay, it says choose one and circle it. I'm just going to highlight it since I'm typing here, but you can choose one of these words and circle it, and now use that word to start your position to introduce your counterclaim. So on this line, I am going to handwrite my counterclaim. So again, I'm going to look at, if I'm saying that the government should raise the minimum wage, I'm going to look at the other side and say, someone that believes that the government should not raise the minimum wage, why do they say that? So one of the main arguments is that raising the minimum wage could lay off a few people in some major industries. So I'm going to type that here, although So again, I'm saying here that the main argument against my argument is that raising the minimum wage would result in laying off a few people in some industries. So although raising the minimum wage may result in laying off a few people in some industries, comma, our counterclaim always has a comma after it, the United States government should raise the minimum wage. So here's my counterclaim. Here's my position statement. Now I'm going to combine these two and I'm going to write my entire position statement sentence. So the entire position statement sentence is going to include the counterclaim with the position statement that I'm going to prove. So for our sake here, I'm just going to copy and paste this. You're going to actually rewrite it on the lines. And then you're going to take this and you're going to rewrite it right after. Notice that there's a comma here and there's a period at the end. So there's a comma after our counterclaim, and then there is a period at the end of the sentence. I'd like you to take a moment right now and I'd like you to complete your organizer all the way through to this point.